beautiful souls, this is Poonam Kaur and welcome back to my channel. Actually, this video is the extension of my previous video on how to do shadow work. And in this video, I'm going to give you the definition of shadow work, both the psychological definition and the spiritual definition. And then I'm going to let you know how shadow side affect your life. In next part, I'm going to tell you how to recognize your shadow side. And in the end of the video, I'll give you some tips to do the shadow work like a boss. So, the word shadow work was first brought into notice of the Western world by the famous psychologist Carl Jung. As per Carl Jung, the shadow side is all the disowned parts of our personality. And as per him, our shadow side starts taking shape in the childhood basically. As per him, all the parts we disown starts from the childhood. For example, if you see, there was a young boy, very sensitive, very sensible, and very emotional. And if he has felt something to the core, to the deep, and if he starts being emotional about it, if he starts crying, and immediately his parents come inside and says, "Oh my God, you foolish child, boys don't cry. Why are you crying like a girl?" This is where that little boy's shadow side starts taking over. Because now he would suppress his emotions. In turn, he is developing his shadow side, which will grow bigger and bigger as the time passes by and as he grows up. Now what happens as he grows up? He would start suppressing his emotions more and more. What will happen? He will become emotionally insensitive or emotionally unavailable to people around him. Now you see how in this scenario the shadow side starts taking over right from the childhood. The word shadow work was brought into light by Carl Jung, but it was always present there from thousands and thousands years back through the shamanic culture. Shamans are the healers, you know. So now I'll take on the spiritual definition of shadow work. As we took the example of that young little boy who becomes insensitive because his parents starts telling him to suppress his emotion, knowingly or unknowingly, because they have started conditioning him in a certain way that you don't cry because girls cry, boys don't cry. And that's absolutely incorrect and that's absolutely insensible on the parts of the parents. So, as we go deep down in spirituality, the spiritual definition of shadow work is like when this boy becomes insensitive about his emotions, then he's closing off. What he's closing off? He's closing off his heart chakra, his heart center, the center of feelings and emotions. So his heart center gets closed off. Now we have to understand, when we go more spiritually, we have to understand that we have got basic 7 chakras, which are the fundamental energy centers in our bodies. Root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra, a heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. And these chakras have their own consciousness. They think about themselves and they work for themselves. So it's very, very important to lead a healthy life. It's very important to have balance in all these chakras. But when any or all of these chakras starts closing off, the imbalance in life starts taking place. So what happens in this scenario? That young little boy, he's closing off his heart chakra. As he grows up, his heart chakra remains closed off and he's not able to feel love. He's not able to receive feelings with that compassion. He's not able to give love and compassion as it should be. Now, how this shadow affects our lives. As we grow up, these shadow side becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And basic food for this shadow is the darkness. When I say darkness, I mean fear, anxiety, anger, guilt, shame, and all those dark and bad emotions. Though emotions are energy, so there is no negative emotions or positive emotions, but still, to create a difference between good emotions or bad emotions, positive emotions or negative emotions, we term them into bad emotions or negative emotions. Now, as per the psychological definition by Carl Jung, the shadow side builds up during the childhood. But as we talk about spirituality, the shadow side builds up not only in childhood, but through all the experience of your life, this lifetime, as well as the experiences you had in your past lifetimes too. Because sometimes, if you ever felt that in this lifetime you have got certain traits or certain issues with yourself which you don't think that they belong to you in any of the experiences of this lifetime, then certainly those issues you're carrying inside from the past lifetimes. Our soul has programmed itself to heal those emotions, to process those emotions and feelings and issues which we carry from our past lifetimes. They become our shadow side in this lifetime too. Since our soul is very, very intelligent, it knows how to process them and how to heal them. So it brings with itself in the next lifetime, in this lifetime. So see, spiritually, the shadow side doesn't only exist from the childhood of this lifetime, but it exists from the past lifetimes as well. And to know what you're carrying inside from your previous lifetimes, you have to do past life regressions. No, you don't have to go to any therapist or psychologist for doing this past life regression. You can do it on your own. When you master the meditation and you get into deep state of meditation, you can do auto regression for yourself, as I have done it many times. I learned that I was afraid of stepping into my powers. I was always afraid, and I will always feel small. This was not from this lifetime, but this was from past lifetimes as well. Now, why it happens? Because now, since I'm awakened, I'm spiritually fully awakened, I had my Kundalini awakening. You understand, when you are a light worker, even in previous lifetimes also, what happened with light workers, they had to face many, many atrocities. And that carries in the next lifetime as well. So the fears from past lifetimes were engulfing me in this lifetime also. So I had to work a lot on myself to get out of that state and to step into my powers. I'll share one example with you. After my Kundalini awakening, when I was divinely guided to make videos to share the knowledge, what I had got downloaded from the above with everybody else, I was not comfortable in doing that because I was feeling nervous. I had fears. How would I say what all I should say, and how would people judge me on that? Of course, when we are sleepers, we don't understand what an awakened person talks to us. So I also had that same fear. But universe won't let you sleep over the issues, you know. It's always kicking your butt to keep you moving, to get going. So I started doing it, and I started stepping into my powers, and now everything is perfectly fine. I don't have any fear of judgment, what others talk about me. So you see, this is how even the issues of past lifetimes, they affect your life in this lifetime as well. So now, how to recognize your shadow side? The first and foremost point in recognizing your shadow side is the outward projection. Now what I do, when I see somebody is doing something that I don't like, that means there is something inside me that I don't like. What we dislike in others is actually lying inside us also. Because our outer world is the projection of our inner world. If everything is calm and peaceful inside, we won't have any triggers and any problems with our outside world. So our outside world is the reflection of our inner world. The second part is the emotional triggers. Yes, when you go out and somebody says something to you that triggers you emotionally, which surfaces anger or fear inside you, that's the another way how you can recognize your shadow side. For example, if you have gone out in a party with your partner or your spouse and you see him talking to some very attractive woman, now what happens to you? You feel jealous inside yourself, yes, and you go there and slap them right on the face. Why the hell are you talking to this woman when I'm with you? Right? This is what everybody tends to do in the emotional rage, in anger, you know. So when something triggers you emotionally, that means that is your shadow side that needs the healing. And if you are healed here, you won't feel jealous. You'll be fine. Okay, they're just talking to each other. There's nothing wrong in that, right? But this hardly happens with us, you know. So we have to recognize what are the emotional triggers and what those triggers are telling us. I always say triggers are my best friend. That's very true, because triggers tell me what is hurting inside and where the healing is required. Exactly. I hope you understand this point. And the next point is you can recognize your shadow side by seeing the repeating patterns in your life. Sometimes some cycle repeats in our life. Like it may happen that you have multiple relationships, but they were all failed. And the reason of failing all the relationships was the same. Maybe you were overextending yourself, or maybe you had fear, anxiety, and fear of judgment, or you feeling not being enough, or jealousy could be a reason. So when you start analyzing these patterns in your life that had been playing over and over and over again, that means there is some shadow side inside you that is playing onto it. So you have to recognize that shadow side, and then now you know you have to heal that to create the balance into your life. And the next part would be journaling. There would be a journaling exercise you have to do to recognize your shadow side. This part will help you a lot. Now what you have to do in this part is you have to ask yourself 3 questions. The first one is, what do you dislike in yourself? Dislike means you don't own up that part of yourself. So first question would be, what do you dislike in yourself? And the second part would be, the second question, what do you judge in yourself? Because when we judge something, that means we are feeding the shadow and it becomes bigger. And when we judge it, we don't own it, we disown it. So the second question should be, what do you judge in yourself? And the third question would be, what do you fear most in your life? Yes, because fear again stops us from owning our parts. And shadow work is about complete acceptance. So these 3 questions will help you to throw some light on the dark side of you, the parts of you which you disown because of fear or judgment or disliking. Then you know, when you know the dark parts of yourself, then you know how to heal them too. The 80% of the work is done when you acknowledge your shadow side. Rest 20% is done by sitting with it and healing it. On to the next part, how to do the shadow work. I'll give you some very important tips on how to do shadow work. You'll be able to do a shadow work like a master, like a pro, you know. So tip number 1 is, do not hate your shadow side, because hating means disowning that part, and hating means you are feeding the shadow to become bigger. The bigger the shadow is, the bigger the problems are in our life. So do not hate your shadow. After all, it is a part of you. So own it up. When you own it up, you'll heal it. The second tip is, do not judge your shadow. Because when you judge it, again, you are disowning it. Judging means, like if you remember the example I gave you, when you go to the party with your partner and there you saw him talking to an attractive woman and you go and just slap straight on the face. So in that scenario, now if you are not fully unconscious, you are awakened and you realize that there are shadow sides, and then you see him talking to that woman and you understand that it's okay, jealousy was coming to you on the first place, and then you start judging yourself. Oh, how stupid of me. What I was thinking, that's so stupid. Why I get jealous of that? It's just, they're talking. This means you are judging your shadow side. Now you see the difference? You don't have to judge your shadow side. Rather than when you understand that, oh, it's a part of me, I'm feeling jealous. Instead of going and fighting with them, or instead of judging your shadow side, what you have to do is ask yourself, what is it trying to tell me? Why am I feeling jealous? You will find the answer inside. Maybe you have some insecurities, or maybe you don't feel beautiful, or maybe you don't feel enough. Those would be the answers, and those would be the wounds inside you that needs the healing, right? So, tip number 2, don't judge your shadow side. Tip number 3 is, as I spoke to you earlier, that many of our shadows are from our past lives. So, past life regression can help us a lot in healing those shadow sides of ours. When we know that what we are carrying inside from our past lives, which is not from this lifetime, you can easily sit with them and you can easily heal them. Tip number 4, childhood review. You have to review your childhood and see what all happened to you way back in your childhood. And here also you have to ask yourself 3 questions. The first one is, was I completely accepted by my parents and people around me? This will help you know which all parts you started disowning into your childhood. And the second question you have to ask is, what was expected out of me? You have to review this because you were shaped as per the expectations of the society back then, or your parents shaped your personality as per their expectations. So question number 2, what was expected out of you? And the question number 3, what behaviors and emotions were judged by your parents? You know why this question is important? Because again, whatever we judge, we disown. If we develop the fear of being judged, we won't be able to become our true authentic self. So write down these 3 questions. You'll find the answers broadly what your shadow side is. Once you know your shadow side, the 80% of work is done. The 20% you have to sit with it and you have to do whatever it takes to heal it. Now, one pro tip. Once you heal your shadow side, you uncover and discover your gifts. Because at times you have many of the gifts. These can be some artistic or creative gifts, or these can be some psychic gifts also. But since you had fear and doubt, you were not able to step into your powers and do whatever you were meant to do. Once you heal your shadow side, you discover all these gifts and you can use them for the betterment of yourself and for the betterment of the society, the people around you. Shadow work is all about integrating your shadow side. These are the fragments of your personality only. I hope I could give you the beautiful insight of what is shadow work, how it affects your life, how to recognize your shadow side, and how to heal your shadow side. I hope this video was of some help to you. If you have any questions or doubts or queries, do let me know in the comment section below. I'll give you the remedies for that. I'll see you in next video. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy, stay fit, and stay in high vibes. Namaste.